Redditors who have had to work with other people's computers, what is the most disturbing thing you have found? Half an inch of fluffy, sticky white gunk coating every inch of the interior. It was a podiatrist's office. It was next to a sort of booth where they would grind the calluses off of old people's feet. I didn't know that when I opened it up. I just knew it smelled faintly of burnt hair. This one needs more upvotes for how uniquely awful it is. Ms. Paint being used to design the company logo. Buddy wanted me convert a hard drive to a external. Needed some copying and formatting. He had tons of pictures of Arctic sea life. It was like every walrus, seal, etc. on Google image search was saved to his drive. Pretty sure he did it to frick with me. I work as an accountant now, but in a former life I did a stint in tech support. I remember getting a report that a printer, a LaserJet 5P, was constantly jamming. I arrived and started checking all the usual spots for paper fragments to get stuck in the rollers. I flipped down the back cover, and chunk of fried chicken fell out. I still have no idea. I had a customer who wanted me to find pictures of her son's penis on the computer. Story: the son had gotten in legal trouble in the past for sending unsolicited pictures of his dong to anyone and everyone. He was not allowed to use the internet on the computer, but as his parents were computer illiterate, they had no idea whether or not he was doing it again, and they wanted to find out. I ended up writing her instructions and showing her how to search for herself, as searching for pictures of her underage son's penis was in ethically murky waters. It was a good thing I did, too, because she ended up finding some. I really wonder the legal grounds for that. I am fairly certain it would not be illegal. The actual illegal act of child pee is when you are sharing it or consuming it, not when you stumble upon it. So I think you would have been fine. Very strange story though. Read a story on here about a Geek Squad type guy who found a bunch of gory murder scene photos. Turned out the owner was a homicide detective. Call it professional courtesy, but I feel like that's probably something you should give a heads up about. My dad has his own software company and does tech support for it and general computer repairs for anyone who drops by his office. Don't know what's the most disturbing thing he's come across, but I was present when a man dropped off his mother's laptop. Dad booted it up and immediately encountered a common problem. It was password protected, so he asks the son for the password. The son has to call his mom to get it. The mom tells the son who has to relay it to my dad. Suck big dick 2014. I was setting up my grandfather's printer and he warned me there's a lot of pee on there, meaning the PC. LOL. I laughed and showed him how to delete his search history. LOL. I had a girl ask to use my computer and I was like heck no, there's so much pee on this thing. She goes LOL. I don't care. Mofo, you don't just do that to people. Don't do the job anymore, but once I did an install where they ordered Playboy channel for their service. No big deal, but as soon as I get there he starts you have the Playboy channel on there right. I look at the order and say, yeah. So I'm doing the install and his wife offers me a drink and food. I turn it down. We're supposed to, job policy. I also had to do a virus check on their computer. So after I finish the install for the cable he says okay, show us the Playboy channel. Usually people wait for us to leave, so it was weird to look up the channel and watch pee in a guy's house with his wife on a 65-inch TV. So I excuse myself to work on the computer. As soon as I log in, the last page he was on was importing foreign women for sex, like mail order brides. The next tab was for orgies and the next tab was for Craigslist. I didn't go too far into it because it was just really awkward as I heard the sounds from the TV downstairs. So when I go to leave, him and his wife don't look at me and they are fixated on the pee. I say my goodbye speech but they don't even turn. It was just weird all around for me. Pictures of graveyards at night and a guy with a hood and a torch walking in them and digging. Was probably a solo black metal artist. Go to beat Vivek AVLT. Plans detailing a prospective campus shooting on the same computer as very sweet emails to his grandmother. He killed himself 2 months prior and I was recovering data for his family. I did not tell them. Guy was severely overweight. I found before and after shaving pics of his crotch and anus. I couldn't even look him in the eye when I handed his computer back to him. Well, you'd already peered into his brown eye. Dang, that's unfortunate. Did computer work for 8 years. Conservatively, I serviced around 1,000 machines a year. I never went digging through the computer or anything, but I stumbled upon CP3 times. We had a contact at the local FBI and there was a quarantine procedure to preserve chain of custody and all that. However, if you really want to gross people out in the office, mention Mr. Santa. This guy had a super slow PC, which was one of the reasons he brought it in. From power on to being able to open the start menu was 45 minutes. The problem is, his desktop background was a full screen image of himself wearing a Santa hat. Only a Santa hat. He was fat and had hundreds of warts everywhere. God dang. Master troll emo. Guy was having problems with his computer, so he brought it into us for a virus removal. Standard stuff. I set it up with a monitor, keyboard, etc and left it to boot up. When I came back it had booted to desktop. The background was a picture of a guy, not the customer, fully nude, spread eagle. I've never switched a monitor off so fast. Sorry dude, this is funny as frick. My grandmother passed away recently, and my 87-year-old grandfather got a new girlfriend, 27 years younger. About 2 months later, I was setting up a printer for his laptop, and in his bookmarks he had a few links to Viagra distributors. So now I know that my grandfather gets laid far more often than I do, and needs medication to get it up, which makes sense I suppose. Old people frick all the time. Found a folder on my mom's computer titled, Saints of My Children, found weird poetry and chat logs of some guy offering to kill my wife and me. My cousin worked for a summer doing IT stuff for her mom's company. She worked on a co-worker's laptop and discovered explicit emails indicating he was sleeping with her mom, who was still married to her dad. Found a load of pee while working on a client's computer. Lots of browsers cuts and fragments of videos. Come to find out, he wasn't obsessed with pee at all. He was an editor for browsers. He must have 1,000-yard stare looking at pee. Was asked on to double check a bunch of computers for pictures and identifying information before recycling the towers. Found the Win98 machine that hadn't seen the internet in a very long time, and on it was Napster, just like we choose to remember it, along with ICQ, Yahoo Messenger, and CompuServe. A computer fossil. A photo album full of polar bears with Coke bottles photoshopped onto their hands, like very badly done, like 40 photos. I was just trying to update a friend's drivers and couldn't resist opening the folder called Coke Bears. Probably worked for Coca-Cola. A relative once asked me to help find some files on her very cluttered hard disk. When search failed me, I started browsing through folders when I found it. Pictures of pillows. Every single type of pillow possible, with lots of different colors and decorations. There were literally thousands of pictures, including some with what looked like bloodstains on them. Oddly scary. Worked at a law firm. Started getting calls in the morning that some random attorneys could not log in. When we checked out their computer, it turned out they were ignoring their username, which was defaulted to the last user logged in. It turned out someone was logging in as user library. Checked out the law library and sure enough, a sticky note with the library username and password existed just above the monitor. This routine persisted for a few more weeks as I tried to figure out how to catch the culprit. Sure, I could disable the account, but then we never find out who is ducking into random offices surfing pee that was in the cache of the library user account on the local machine. We used a startup script called Kickstart, highly configurable to do whatever you need it to do. So I added to the startup script to email the administration group whenever the library user logs in. First night, I get the email. Late at night, I call security and ask them to check our floor. Nothing too unusual. We ask them to check floors occasionally due to stuck open doors from positive airflow, etc. They replied back all clear. Huh, weird. Okay. Second night, same story. Nothing unusual reported back from security. However, the next morning I come in to have a request from an attorney to help him log in. Same computer from the night before. Default user. You guessed it. Library. This attorney had poor eyesight. As I'm clicking away checking out the browsing history our mystery library user left behind, I notice something out of the corner of my eye. A couple dabs of Elmer's glue. It's early. Pre-coffee. What's an attorney doing with glue? Then I realize what I'm staring at. Not glue. I threw up in my mouth a little. Fast forward a week. Happens again. Email notification late at night. Security called. Also notice another attorney logged in a few offices down. I called him immediately and asked him to check the office where we saw the library user logged in. He checks and reports back a few minutes later. Nothing unusual, just a security guard. I just called security no less than 2 minutes before. No way they could get to the top floor in time to check on our request. It was the security guard yanking on his brake. Notified the building manager the following morning. They pulled him in, questioned him, and he admitted his guilt. He was dismissed immediately. That's some deep, dark, under the cover work right there. The mystery of the prowler. I placed my hand on the user's mouse and my hand stuck due to lube on the mouse. Computer itself could hardly function due to pop-ups. Yeah, lube on the mouse. Yeah. My friend's mom. 7 antivirus installed. That is has 6-inch tall of toolbars. 52 GBs of P. 1 TB of gore. I never touched that computer again. My grandma was having problems. Looked at her history and there was a crap ton of gangbang P. Hey, she's old, not dead. I worked at a computer store chain as a tech in the service department. I had this guy come in one day saying that he needed me to find incriminating photos of his wife that he knew were on there of her cheating with some guy. I informed him that the best I could do is a bulk search for all images on the HDD and back up to CD DVD. He insisted on watching me search for the images. My manager approved this and we begun the search and backup. Sure as crap there were about 200 photos of his wife freaking about 5 different dudes at 5 different times, spanning a few months. However, there were also photos of the guy standing right next to me, also fricking his wife. I remained as professional as possible all while he was leaning in and whispering sorry after every photo of him popped up. We copied them to DVD for him and sent him on his way. Now, we offered a service in which we carried out computers, monitors, printers or whatever hardware. I didn't offer that to this guy, but he asked if I could carry his computer out for him. I thought this was very strange as he was more than fit enough to carry it and he had carried it in to begin with. Once outside, he insisted on me taking $200 cash as a thanks for doing this for me and you shouldn't have to see this sort of crap. While we weren't supposed to accept these sorts of tips, I wasn't making much at that place and I had to see some old dude's butthole and junk. So yeah, I graciously accepted his money, wished him the best of luck and sent him on his way. I did see him one more time, several months later. He was buying a new computer. He didn't say anything to me and I didn't tell him. I sometimes wonder if he won the court battle or if she's still alive. I lent a friend a use of my laptop for a 3-hour game of D&D. He used a site called Fur Affinity to download lots of Nazi dog pee, drawings, Doberman and Nazi uniforms fricking each other. When I confronted him he said you'd think there'd be more German shepherds. I work in a senior day center but I used to do software development so every now and then one of the other staff will ask me to fix whatever computer problems they're having. One time one of the nursing assistants asked me to look at her laptop and had brought it in. I told her I'd look at it during my lunch break, different time from hers, and she said fine. So I opened the thing up in the break room only to be confronted with a bunch of windows with very explicit pictures of her and her boyfriend, the topmost picture being his BBC. Fortunately the only person in the room was across the table and couldn't see anything, but I noped the heck out of there. I gave her a little crap for potentially getting me fired, but was kind of fun to have her squirm knowing what I'd seen. Not me, but a friend borrowed his lieutenant's computer while we were deployed to Iraq. Found a lot of child pee on it. Pictures of his balls on soldiers while they were sleeping. You know the usual. Yeah, he's a level 2 sex offender now. Neighbor asked to have their son's computer looked at because it kept blue screening. I agreed and braced myself for a bunch of pee. The kid was 14. Nothing. A crapload of video games but no pee. What kind of 14-year-old boy who has his own PC has no pee? While I was in high school I also worked for the school district as a student computer tech. My English teacher said her friend's computer was acting up and they wanted some help. After some general tinkering with settings, dumping caches, defragging disks, and uninstalling some bloatware, I determined they could use a clean install of the OS. So I started to copy all their files to an external drive and was prepping a new partition to install the OS on. Well, you know those neat previews of the files you're transferring? I started seeing nothing but weird 80s clown pee. Yeah, did I mention I was doing this at my school too? Ended up just locking the computer in a closet for the remainder of the file transfers, configured the computer with all their files, and pretended I didn't see a thing when I gave it back. You've been visited by the healthy spirit of exercise. Boy, you will burn all calories today if you comment blessed be the health hound. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.